Time for another coffee with Kilroy, or what I sometimes call beverage in a book. My beverage, well, I think you know what that is. My book, well, today it's Battlefields, Then and Now. This is compiled by John Mann and Tim Newark. This is the world's great battles brought to life in vivid see-through reconstructions. And this covers Hastings, Waterloo, Alamo, Gettysburg, Pearl Harbor, Desert Storm, and 16 other battles, as the sites are today, as they were at the height of battle. Now, why am I picking out this book? Well, I've had this book for quite some time, and if you look at the back here, it's been discolored over time as well, and I think I picked this up as in some kind of bargain bin or clearance shelf. I tend to do that with books as well as games, and always looking for a deal, right? So pick this up, and it's an interesting book in that it's a little bit more of a curiosity. It doesn't go into depth on any of these individual battles, and then there's some images for the battles, but it's not like an exhaustive account of the images. So it's not a reference in that respect. However, it's an interesting look at these battles and kind of getting a feel of a little bit understanding of the battle, get a view of the battle with some of the images of as it was taking place or the immediate aftermath, and then kind of reconstruction of it and looking at it today and seeing what that field looks like today. I don't think they do it for every single one of the battles that they cover here, but they do it for several of them. And there's a little gimmickry type of see-through page where you can see what it looked like then, and then when you flip it over, you see what it looks like now. That's kind of cool. They don't do that for all the battles, but they do that for several. So I thought I'd pull this up. This will probably go into, I'll probably put this into these individual battles. I have a battle and campaign playthrough list down below, but I also have just an overall battlefield playlist where I'm trying to cover, when I go visit a battlefield, when I'm lucky enough to find the time to do that. I usually cover that there, but I also cover, specific things about battlefields in that playlist as well. So I'll probably put that in there as well if you're interested in trying to figure out where this is going to land. So enough of that. Let's do a little bit of a page through here of battlefields then and now as I get a sip of coffee. And then we can dive into the book here. So as you can see, here's a little bit of, this is Waterloo, and they're going to have this overlay, and that this is going to be on the front, and then you flip this over and you'll see what it looks like today. I think I need to get a little bit more coffee. Voice is a little gravelly this morning. So these are the battles it's going to cover. I mean, very famous or infamous or notable engagements throughout history, as you can see here. Quite a few, actually. There's an introduction. They're talking about what their purpose was here. Then you start off with Gaugamela, right off the bat, 3031 BC. And so as you can see, you learn a little bit about the battle. Again, it's not, completely without merit to look at this as a reference, but it's not going to be an in-depth treatment in any respect. You get a little bit of a snippet about Alexander. And so there's really not a lot of battlefield pictures there. Now we get to Alesia. And this is one of those overlays, as you can see here. So this is the way it looked. This was the famous Caesar fighting donut, where he was sieging Alesia on this hilltop, and then built trenches around built defenses against them, and then built an outward defense for the relief force that was coming. So you've got a whole series of fortifications around here. And then if you flip this over here, you can see what it looks like today. And today is, I don't know when that picture was taken. See if there's a copyright on this book here. I think this is in copyright is 97. So that picture, I don't know if that's in 97, but you know, it's no later than 97. I can tell you that right now. So there you have that. That's kind of the key treatment to what this book does on some of the battles. It's kind of neat. And this shows you how that looked, all the different fortifications and how they were laid out. It's kind of cool. So you get a little bit, you know, on the battle. Here's Hastings. Let's put this in here so you can see both pages. Then Constantinople of 1453. Some of these spirals sometimes get stuck. So here is Constantinople. So you get to see what it looked like during the siege, and then what it looks like today. I think that's kind of interesting. And again, not every one of these has that overlay. They're just, here's Waterloo, they have one of those overlay. Here's Hougoumont. And you see the battle going on there. And they have this little inset down here that shows you, you know, the farmhouse and Grenadier Guards and Garden Wall and Coldstream Guards. And then you see what it looks like today. Or at least as late as 97. So, I mean, and they go into a little bit more detail on Waterloo. So you do get I mean, it's a neat little reference to cover the battle, to cover some images. But, you know, it's one of those ones where it tries to do quite a bit, you know, between talking about the battle, talking about the background, talking about what, you know, showing some images of the battle or some illustrations, and then showing it today. It's kind of hard to do all that and do any one of them super well. So, you know, it's kind of a jack of all trades and master of none in that respect. Here's Alamo, which I have been to, and that is in my playlist. Antietam. And they didn't do an end set, and here's some pictures, you know, some of the infamous pictures of the fallen. They show a lot of that. And I have a book by, I guess he's considered a historian or a photo historian that has gone back and traced, especially at Gettysburg, because he used to work at Gettysburg, traced a lot of the photos, and some of them were mislabeled of where they were taken. There was a couple of main photographers that went to the battlefields after the battle and took these photos. There's more than two, but there was a couple of real, I think, primary guys that did this. But they would mislabel it, and some of the bodies were moved, sometimes it were staged, and this guy's gone back and done some kind of forensic photography investigations. And I've got a book on from him as well. I might cover that at some point and put that in this battlefield section of my playlist if you're interested. But it's an interesting book that talks about these photos and stuff like that. So here's Gettysburg, and of course we have a flip out for Gettysburg. This is Pickett's Charge, as you can see here. You got Seminary Ridge, Stone Wall, ammunition caisson blowing up over here. Advancing Confederate troops capture Union guns, advancing Union troops. I wonder if they're saying this is the copse of trees. I don't know. It's not labeled as such there. I don't think it was that big, but maybe I'm off. And here it is today. And I've been fortunate enough to go there. I was a mere youth, and did not have a camera or an iPhone to at that point to do a little Kilroy from the road. But I need to go back there and try that. There's some more of those battlefield photos or aftermath photos. Rorke's Drift. Here is a inset of what it looked like during the battle, and then you have what it looks like today. And I will probably, man, I don't want to say never, but probably never make it there. So that's an interesting look of Rorke's Drift. It's kind of cool there. That to me is an amazing battle. It's kind of like the British Alamo, but with a better result for the defenders. Here was the battle that immediately preceded Rorke's Drift. Gallipoli. I could turn this into a go to the movies. The movie with Mel Gibson, one of his earlier movies. That left an impression on me when I was in an impressionable age. Psalm 1916. Now this is one where I think they could have done more. They could have done, I think, Battlefield then, Battlefield today. I don't know if you've seen, looked at a lot of World War I photos, but the way that the trench works have now been kind of grown over. They weren't all completely filled in, and they're kind of grown over now. But you can see the undulating ground of where the network of trenches and pot marks and shells and all the other stuff took place. And there's a guy I work with that's his that's kind of his thing, is he goes and visits World War I battlefields and has visited several of them and gone over there several times. So maybe I'll do a interview sometime and talk about some of the World War I battlefields. See if he's got pictures or something. That might be interesting. If you're interested in that, let me know. Here's Cambrai. This is the first largest tank battle of modern warfare. Largest tank battle of the first large tank battle of World War I, where tanks were introduced in a meaningful way. So you can see the tanks going through the field there. And the tanks were huge. The armament wasn't as big as just they were huge, and they were made so big that they can go over the trenches and over all the fortifications that were put along the lines. And they also, were steel, so I mean it was hard to penetrate. So very formidable at that point. But later on they would get, and they would have machine guns and what have you. But later on, of course, tanks developed heavy armament to do heavier work. And then you have what it looks like today. So that's an interesting one. This one is not as, looks relatively normal compared to what it might have looked like back then. But it'd be interesting to look at some of those other World War I photos of where you can see remnants of the trenches and the shells and all the damage and destruction that was done in the battle. Here's Pearl Harbor. So here it is as of the middle of the attack. And then you can see it today. And I've been to Hawaii a couple of times, but never made it to this. So I kind of kicked myself. My parents have been there, but I've never made it to this. So there is let's just say where there's the Arizona. You've got the West Virginia, the Tennessee, the Arizona, the Nevada. You got a hospital ship, and this is what it looks like today. battle there. And if you look at my cover photo on my on my YouTube site, it's Ford Island here. But it's a picture it's a painting from the Japanese perspective. I saw it in when I was in Japan. There's a museum right down from the palace, and I went in there and I found this painting, and it was of Pearl Harbor, but it was from the Japanese perspective, and it was dated, the 8th. So it's like, okay, because it was the 8th to the Japanese. So just again, that's kind of my whole. One of the things I try to keep in mind when I'm doing this channel is perspective. There's different perspectives, there's different ways to look at things, and trying to understand all the different perspectives, which is impossible, but trying to understand them at least, or get a better understanding of them, I think is important. Anyway, El Alamein, Stalingrad, and they didn't have any pictures of Stalingrad. I think this was a missed opportunity where they could do this. There's the new David Thompson game, that's in his series of Undaunted. He's got Undaunted Stalingrad, where the game itself changes, so it kind of becomes its own flip chart, because you'll have a tile of what that part of the city looks like, but then it gets, as the combat goes on, it gets more destroyed and becomes more rubble, or becomes rubble, and so the tile changes over time, and so it's got a built-in flip book there, and I think there was a missed opportunity to do some more Stalingrad stuff here. Here's Omaha Beach, and it's got a little flip chart there, and this is what their rendition of it during the battle, and then this is what it looks like today, and that's an interesting looking view here. It's kind of cool. Iwo Jima, and my uncle was here. He wasn't one of the flags, which of course there was two different photos of that, at least two different photos of that. You should check out that story. But he was there. He went into the army, and then when he got out of the army, World War II broke out, and then he re-enlisted as a Marine. So he was a Marine during Iwo Jima. Here's Berlin. There it is during the battle, or at least during the Soviet occupation. So you got some T-34 tanks here, some Soviet snipers up here. This is the Reichstag, and then this is what it looks like today, or at least some point prior to 1997. And there's a photo of it during that. That's kind of interesting, hoisting the flag there. End of the Third Reich, and there's some of the rubble there. Then you got Quezon. And then what it looks like today. And I think that's the end. Oh, we're gonna have Desert Storm here, I think. There's Desert Storm. I don't think that has a flip chart, because we should have plenty of photos. Plus, most of you who are watching this probably remember watching it on TV. So there you have it. That is battlefields then and now. Thought I'd do a little flip through, see if you thought that was interesting. I found it kind of interesting. So I think there might be other books like this out there. I've got some other battlefield type books, as I said, that deal with like Civil War photography and stuff like that. I might cover those from time to time, but anyway, thought I'd share that with you today with a cup of coffee. So thank you so much for stopping by and spending some time with me. I really do appreciate it, and sometimes I'm just amazed how much you guys do spend time with me, because you have other choices out there. So any amount of time you spend with me is greatly appreciated. If you have any comments on any of this, please feel free to drop them down below. And thanks again. Take care. Thanks for watching.